Bob, I love you. To who?
How are you going to fight tonight?
I don't know. We shall see tonight. I came without strategy this time.
No strategy?
No, not at all. Because I must try fight without strategy.
Although Mirko claimed he had no strategy, once the fight began, it became clear he had prepared carefully, making sure not to repeat the same mistakes Ernesto Hoost had made.
Let's go for it in the first round always. Give it all I got. That never changes.
Mirko Filipović began his professional career in 1996 as a kickboxer, following the path of his compatriot Branko Cicitic. Before turning professional, he compiled an amateur boxing record of 48 wins and 8 losses, with 31 knockouts. In his kickboxing debut, he defeated Jerome Le Banner. However, after a loss to Ernesto Hoost in his second bout, Filipović stepped away from the sport to refocus on boxing and his career in law enforcement. He would go on to become a 3-time national amateur boxing champion and later join Croatia's elite Lučko anti-terrorist unit. The fight between Crocop and Bob Sapp was not MMA. It was contested under K1 rules. That detail changed everything. The contract set clear boundaries. No prolonged clinch, no takedowns, no professional wrestling techniques. Power bombs were strictly forbidden. After what had happened to Nogueira, no serious camp was willing to take that risk. But money changes decisions. Mirko's manager negotiated a purse of $150,000 to face Bob Sapp. Until then, Cro Cop was earning between $10,000 and $30,000 per fight in K1. When he entered Pride, his paychecks didn't just increase, they gained an extra zero. K1 wanted spectacle, but controlled spectacle. Monstrous size, against the most feared striker of the moment. Crocop never spoke of fear in terms of losing, but before facing Bob Sapp, there was real discomfort. He has said he never liked chaotic opponents, fighters with no clear pattern. Bob Sapp was exactly that. The concern wasn't Sapp's technique, it was his disproportionate size and raw strength. After what had happened to Nogueira and Hoost, the danger was no longer theoretical, it was real. By 2007, K1 was under Yakuza control. Bob Sapp began finding himself in increasingly unstable situations, sometimes arriving at fights without having signed a contract, while purses continued to shrink. That was the turning point. Sapp decided to walk away. It marked a drastic change in his career. From that moment on, he would no longer take serious risks for small paychecks that didn't even cover medical expenses. If an opponent represented real danger, Sapp would go down, often feigning injury. Notably, he was never knocked out with a loss of consciousness. Still, this behavior earned him a damaging reputation among newer fans, the image of a weak fighter, unwilling to fight through adversity. Up to that point, the numbers told a different story. Under MMA rules, Sapp had fought 11 times, losing only twice. In kickboxing, he competed in 17 bouts, losing 7, 2 of them by disqualification. One against Tsuyoshi Nakasako and another against Remy Bonjasky, in a fight Sapp was clearly dominating. Musashi defeated him by decision in a closely contested bout. The last incident was impossible to ignore, a blatant dive against Peter Aerts. The crowd erupted in anger. Food began raining down into the ring. There was also a mixed rules fight against Le Banner, 2 rounds of kickboxing and 2 rounds of MMA, resulting in a draw and an ending in which Sapp was on the verge of submitting the Frenchman.
Knees here, and it would be a very smart thing for Yamamoto to do too. Oh! They call the fight! His strategy was perfect. Look at this, here we go. Whoa.
There's the uppercut and just pounding away. Yamamoto.
At that time, Bob Sapp was a very real danger to anyone who stood across from him. In March 2004, Sumyabazar was forced to withdraw from his fight due to a groin injury. Just 13 days later, Sapp's punches overwhelmed Seth Petruzzelli, causing a serious arm injury and ending the fight just 57 seconds into the first round. Sapp also scored a brutal knockout over Akabono, a sumo wrestler standing over 2 meters tall and weighing more than 230 kilos. Even Alan Karayev, who outweighed and outsized Sapp, was knocked out by a simple jab. For a brief moment in time, Bob Sapp wasn't just spectacle, he was genuinely dangerous. He even went on to win the K1 World Grand Prix 2005 in Hiroshima, defeating 3 opponents in the same night. Hiraku Hori, whom Sapp faced in the semifinals, later said it didn't feel like fighting another human being, but something else entirely, because of Sapp's brutal strength. In the opening seconds, Mirko unleashed one of his trademark left high kicks. Sapp blocked it with ease. Moments later, as Sapp charged forward, Mirko switched targets, driving a kick into the midsection. The message was clear. Sapp began instinctively protecting his liver. Mirko's strategy was simple. As in his fight against Ernesto Hoost, Bob Sapp advanced in a straight line, charging forward. But Mirko understood the difference. With the massive gap in size and weight, meeting Sapp head-on was not an option. Instead, Crocop stayed off the center line, constantly angling out, even moving toward Sapp's power hand. When Sapp tried to connect, Mirko closed the distance into the clinch. This time, however, the referee would not allow Sapp to strike from the clinch as he had done against Hoost. The chaos was contained. Now, Cro Cop retreated, searching for the angle. When Sapp rushed in again, Mirko fired another powerful kick. Sapp absorbed it with his elbow, instinctively bracing the block with his opposite arm. That single mistake was enough. Mirko framed him with a jab, then unleashed a crushing cross, rotating fully through the hips, transferring every ounce of force through the kinetic chain. Sapp collapsed to the canvas. His mouthpiece flew out. He writhed in pain. To this day, many fans believe the kick landed directly on Bob Sapp's liver, but the replays tell a different story. The contact was absorbed almost entirely by Sapp's arm. Some of the pressure may have transferred to the body, but it was likely far from enough to cause a true liver knockout, especially considering what we had already seen. In his fights with Ernesto Hoost, Sapp had absorbed multiple clean hooks without showing the same reaction. After Sapp raised his guard to absorb the kick, Mirko framed him with a quick jab, freezing him in place. Then came the cross. Cro Cop rotated fully through the hips, transferring his weight forward in a perfect kinetic chain, from the feet, through the torso, and into the shoulder. Even against a man as large as Bob Sapp, the mechanics were flawless. The punch landed clean, and the giant collapsed. It was a classic striking sequence: force the defense, create the opening, deliver the finishing blow.
That was a memorial victory, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. Big victory for me.
Yes.
Kako je bio Bob Sapp?
How is Bob Sapp? Animal. He's strong. Physically he's too strong, but his technique doesn't follow his strength. His fighting skills.
You still think he's just a big guy?
Just a big, he's the beast, but he don't have experience enough, and he don't have a skill for fighting with top K1 fighters. That's my opinion. But he will be dangerous all the time for everybody. Everybody had to be very, very careful for fighting Bob Sapp.
Well, now you're 8 consecutive winning, and I think you're unbeatable.
Everybody can lose the fight. I'm not unbeatable, but I'm good right now. Very good.
And you got nothing to fear of.
Yeah. There's nobody I fear.
Well, this is a great start for you this new year. What's your goal this year?
What's my goal this year? You mean in my life or in the fighting sport?
In the fighting sports this year.
Well, to win all the fights. That's all.
And to go to K1.
Yeah, Grand Prix final.
My bone.
Break the kick.
My eye break. So I didn't want to get up. I could get up, but
You
my eye break.
brain damage.
No. Yes. Eye just bone. High. Can I not see? I cannot see straight.
Could you tell us about the end of the fight tonight?
Just pointing from outside, but right now, I can do my health. I'll be back.
Sapp suffered a fractured orbital bone. He later said he could feel the bone pressing into his eye. That moment became a turning point. It explained not only that fight, but everything that came after. Years later, Sapp addressed it directly, not as an excuse, but as a decision. I will receive no damage to my body that will be long-lasting for a small, insignificant amount of cash. We've seen it now with examples from the NFL, fighters and players coming back years later saying, "We have brain damage." I'm getting paid well under what a professional boxer makes, or someone like Manny Pacquiao. So I will never sustain long-lasting damage for a small paycheck. That will never happen. Never will the beast allow that. From that point on, Bob Sapp was no longer fighting to prove anything. He was fighting to protect himself. In later years, Bob Sapp made a controversial claim about the fight. He stated on several occasions that the gloves used by Mirko Filipović had been tampered with. According to Sapp, the gloves were examined after the bout, and he alleged that executives from K1 chose to keep the matter quiet to avoid a public scandal. No official investigation was ever made public, and the claim has never been independently confirmed. During that period, Bob Sapp became a massive attraction in Japan. He endorsed hundreds of brands, promoting everything from food products to electronics. Fans still remember that era clearly. You could see Bob Sapp on television all day, every day. Commercials, variety shows, prime time programming. At the same time, he was fighting across multiple promotions, alternating between Pride and K1, even competing at Inoki Bombaye. The schedule left him with very little time to train. And inside K1, that reality was openly acknowledged. Executives told him directly, "Bob, you don't need to train. You're special."
Bob is a hell of an athlete, and I used to want him to just explain to the audience, just so they're not don't feel disrespected, that he's representing at that time 20 different products. Ishii had him, he was the face of so many things, like Nestle,
Panasonic.
Yeah, Panasonic. He had all of these items. When we'd be in Japan, he'd have a schedule that was crazy. Then they throw a fight at him in a week's notice with a killer who all they do is fight.
Yeah, fans don't know about that.
They don't even know. And I'm like, Bob, could you just explain that you had a week, just so people understand that, you know, that you're not just punking out or you didn't have it with you. Like, so that's disrespectful to the audience. Yeah. But he never wanted to explain. He never wanted to give an excuse.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
I got an excuse for every time I lose. Every single one.
Probably didn't feel the need. Maybe he thought he was You know,
Bob
everybody's got their
Sapp-
own
Yeah,
taste.
he would never do that. I'm like, man, you know, explain this to folks because they don't know.
I remember the first time he fought in Pride, we was in the same locker room and he was like kind of nervous. I looked at him. I didn't know who Bob Sapp was. That was my first time. Big giant. I'm like, who you fighting, bro? And he was like, you think I'm gonna win? You think I'm gonna do good? You think I'm gonna win? I'm like, who you fighting? He showed me a little bit of Japanese guy. I was like, bro, you should win on pure blackness. He started laughing, right? He went out there, I watched him, and he threw an uppercut, he missed, and he knocked the guy with his bicep. You remember that fight?
Yeah. Man, Bob, man, nothing scarier than when Bob is in the gym throwing combinations properly. I remember holding the pad for the low kick, and he lifted me up in the air from the low kick. And I just was like, Frankie, I want you to hold the pad from now. It was that's frightening.
Yeah.
What he is able to do physically is frightening. When he puts that all together, who was it? When he had time to train before, I think was it Musashi? It was somebody he had time to train with, and he showed the glimpse of how frightening he is on a real training camp, or if he locks in and stays with the technique, because he only needs like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But it's almost like when you're playing a video game and you got too many weapons, you don't know which one.
Yeah.
And so he just he starts doing that.
He looked really good against Ernesto Hoost, though.
Oh yeah. He looked like he looked like he. Oh, think about what the twin.
Nogueira.
Nogueira.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was gonna kill him.
Yeah. He fucked his back up or something like that.
Yo, that looked like Bob was punching him like this, but can you imagine if he had his elbow up and punched this way?
Yeah.
That might have been a murder up in that ring. Yeah. I mean, that's frightening.
Can you imagine if he had technique, somebody as big as Bob Sapp had like technique like that, like a real...
That's what I'm talking about, Quinn.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
In April 2024, Bob Sapp traveled to South Korea to compete in a bodybuilding championship. During that trip, he appeared on the Fighting podcast, where he addressed long-standing rumors surrounding his career. For the first time, Sapp confirmed what many had suspected for years. Yes, some of the losses were intentional. It wasn't about competition anymore. It was about survival.
Of course, I went on back through K1. Unfortunately, they ended up going bankrupt.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, but the beast still continued. So I went around the world, and because professional fighting has no retirement, you know, you have to set your own retirement up. I set my own retirement up by doing what many in America call at that time a series of taking dives. So that would mean that I would go into the fight, and the ones who really wanted to win, I would allow them to beat me for the revenue so I could take on the increased amount of revenue for my retirement, because there is no retirement in this. So I decided to fly around the world, travel first class, have everything accommodations, which was provided, and I would make, you know, money doing this. Well, they would call that taking dives, okay? Which means, you know, which absolutely is correct. So you can take a look at the fights that they say that I lost on purpose, which I'm going to say is absolutely correct, because now it's, you know, some amount of time difference. So go ahead and think what my record really is. Now, if you really know what my record really is, now you understand as to why there's a tremendous amount of athletes that are 50 years old that refuse to fight me, because they're right. When it's taking dives, Bob could really beat your ass. So, you know, so they make sure that they always avoid that.
A little bit hesitant to come in. Lands a big overhand.
In 2014, Mirko Cro Cop reflected on Bob Sapp's decline in an interview with MMA Fighting. He recalled meeting him in Japan a year earlier and asking a simple question. I asked him, "Bob, why are you doing this?" "He is too dangerous. He is such a huge guy." I saw some of his fights. He was fighting in Europe. 99% of the fights he lost here in Europe, he could have kicked their asses easily. Why he didn't do that? To me, it looked like he was doing that with some intention. He just wanted to lose the fight. Unbelievable. Actually, I didn't understand his answer when I asked him the question. He was trying to explain to me why, but I didn't understand. Not because I don't understand English, but because I didn't understand what he was trying to tell me. I said, okay, but I didn't. He's a huge guy and enormously strong, especially in MMA. He loses fights with guys who are 50 to 60 kilograms lighter than he is, and he could beat them easily. Easily. Why he is doing that, I don't know. In Openweight, some problems couldn't be solved with strength. Bob Sapp had already shown what overwhelming size could do. He broke positions, he crushed resistance, and for many, the outcome felt inevitable. But Mirko Cro Cop saw it differently. He didn't try to match the power. He refused the collision. Instead, he moved. He angled. He controlled the distance, because against something that big, standing still wasn't an option. This wasn't a test of strength. It was a test of precision. Step by step, Sapp was forced to react, to cover, to guess, until the moment came. A small opening created, not given, and Mirko took it. Clean, decisive. In seconds, the impossible balance shifted. That night didn't just end a fight, it reshaped the narrative. Because after everything Sapp had done, after everything he represented, he could be stopped.